one of the things I've always been kind of confident in is my songwriting. What I've learned so far going into the studio is like trying to like take it in and appreciate the time that I have in there. Most of the songs that I write are not about like things that happen to me.
All right, welcome to In the Chair. Today we are talking with Connor Daly, Nashville country music artist, and we found out that we're both originally from Virginia in the United States. But Connor has an album out that we'll get into and a new single out. So I want to welcome you, Connor. Good to meet you, man. Welcome to In
Yeah,
the Chair.
good to meet you too. Yeah, it's great to be here. Fellow Virginia guy.
I stay loyal, even though I didn't really live there very long.
Yeah.
I have a Virginia is for lovers t-shirt, and I'll always be proud of that.
That's what really makes you a Virginia guy. As long as you have one Virginia is for lovers t-shirt, then you're good to go for life.
It's like liking an old band and having one shirt, but you don't own any records or something.
Yeah, exactly. True fan, Virginia.
Cool. I want to talk about your album and your single, but first, I guess this is kind of a new audience for you. Cupchairs is based in London, so a lot of the viewers are going to be not your normal fans or not normal, country music fans from the United States. So can you introduce yourself a little bit and tell folks how you got involved in music and why you do this?
Yeah. So my name's Connor Daly. I've been doing music, some like forms of music for my entire life. I grew up playing the piano and then switched to playing guitar in high school and started writing songs throughout college. And then now I've been out of college for a couple years, put out my debut album last year, and I'm recording new music this year. And I guess my music is like Americana, country kind of style, singer-songwriter stuff. But it's like a very wide genre. But yeah, I enjoy music and looking forward to everything that I'm going to release this year.
Um, so I followed a path that was similar to that, played music through college and then got out of college. And the decision was, day job or music. And that's big. How have you balanced that decision and gotten or not gotten support from family and friends to just pursue your dream?
Yeah, so my family has been super supportive. Right out of school, I worked in the government in the Treasury Department for 2 years, about like right before I moved down here, and then it just like you know throughout COVID and stuff, people were working from home. It's like I was working from home, most days. Like I'd go in once every 2 weeks, so it gave me a lot of time to write songs and do music stuff, which was very nice. So like while I was working there after school, like I was writing a bunch of songs and getting like a decent catalog and trying to get better, and just started like really enjoying music and playing gigs and stuff like that at local bars and stuff. Um, and it and then by that point I kind of knew like I wanted to be in Nashville because that's the best place to be in the world for music for the most part if you want to like meet like-minded people. Um, so I did work the government job for 2 years, which was a great time, obviously. But yeah, right now I'm doing music, writing songs, and trying to enjoy life and see what I can do in the music world.
Yeah, yeah. Nashville is just an amazing city. I'm in Austin, and it's a good music city, but I feel like Nashville's its own special thing.
Yeah.
What How did you adjust there? Because on the one hand, it's home to amazing songwriters and amazing musicians. Uh, how do you balance like pulling inspiration from that and building yourself up, but then also the competition is there. It's just
Mhm.
insane. Everybody is fantastic. Like how do you
Yeah.
balance that challenge?
Well, the competition is definitely insane. I can tell you that. Like I've been here for about 9 months now. Um, and I don't want to say like I've lost all hope since I've been here, but when I was in Virginia, like I thought my songs were good, doing good on socials and stuff, and then you come down here, and everybody is super talented and trying to do the same exact thing. Um, so it definitely is intimidating, but it's definitely about finding groups um, of people that are trying to do the same thing and can like motivate and like build off of each other, through like the years that you're here. Um, so yeah, I'm trying to meet a bunch of people right now, and yeah, it's just a great place to be for music.
Yeah. We mentioned that I had spoken and interviewed Lily Grace recently, and I
Mhm.
asked her the same question. But have you done an open mic night at Bluebird Cafe yet?
I haven't done the open mic, but I played around there
Okay. Uh,
last year, the end of last year.
that
So
that
it
that
was a
room
lot of fun.
blew me away. I got to be
Oh
there
yeah.
one night. Um, did you just did talk about being in that room? Like it's such a legendary place.
Yeah, so the Bluebird Cafe was like the one venue that I've heard about before I like knew anything about music. Like I've always heard about the Bluebird Cafe. And when I was driving up to it, it's like such a small, little spot, like a hole in the wall spot in between like a dry cleaners and like a wedding dress shop or something like that. And it's so unsuspecting. And then you walk in and it still looks kind of unsuspecting, but it's like it's super cool, and just the history about it was super cool to like be in that room where so many artists before me like sang their like some of their first original songs that were like hits or something like that.
Yeah.
But it was definitely unique because like writers rounds like it's typically people on like a stage or like in the front, and there's like three or four people, and then like the audience is facing them. But as you're probably aware, the Bluebird Cafe, it's like all in the center of the room, and there's like it's just like me and there was three other people just in a circle in the center, and then everybody's just like around. So it felt like super intimate, um, and it was definitely one of the coolest places I played so far.
Yeah, I love that. I agree with everything you said. You walk up and it's not impressive. You go
Yeah,
in and it's like any other venue. But yeah, when they kind of turn up the mics and maybe the lights dim a little, to me it was like an emotional warmth.
yeah,
Just you just felt special. And then I mean, the night I was there, you didn't hear a wrong note. You didn't hear a voice crack.
yeah,
But it also didn't seem high pressure. It just seemed like everybody was relaxed, but at the top of their game as well.
yeah. Exactly. That was like one of the gigs where like I wasn't nervous for. At least like when I was sitting down and playing, like I wasn't nervous. I feel like it just felt like everybody was. I was in like a living room somewhere playing for people instead of like on a stage with like bright lights and stuff.
Yeah.
So it was kind of nice, and everybody I think kind of understands like how special it is because obviously like, nobody's talking, and they like all the tourists come from all over the place and know about the Bluebird Cafe and just want to hear original songs from artists.
Yeah, yeah, that's cool. I think everyone I talk to from Nashville, I want to hear the Bluebird story. That's
Yeah,
just a personal thing for me. Um,
yeah, great time.
so you get out of college and you record your first album, and I mean I think there would be nerves like is this going to be any good? Will people like it? And the things I saw in some of your press clippings is it was voted favorite new release by American Highways and received a 10 out of 10 by Maverick Magazine.
Yeah,
How does that make you feel?
it makes me feel great, obviously, because I wrote every song on that album, and I think like that's one of the things I've always been kind of confident in is my songwriting, and my style is like a little bit different than it's not too cookie cutter, which I think um, can make it difficult sometimes, but also could potentially give me an edge, because I don't like fit into one box. But I'm super proud of that album. It was a long time coming to get together and piece all the songs and projects and stuff. But yeah, like you said, it got some great reviews that I'm super proud of, and yeah, it's just a good solid first start, I think, and it's definitely something that I'll be able to build off here.
Yeah, did you record that all in Nashville?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yep.
So what's that like? I mean, you're kind of fresh out of college and you have your songs and you're confident in your music. And then I'm just gonna guess you get into a studio with just insane pros who,
Oh yeah.
who have recorded or played on, any number of larger albums. What was that like for you to hear your songs that you knew brought to life through other people's fingers and hands and everything?
Yeah. Well, that's definitely one of my favorite parts, because I write the songs and then I sit with like the acoustic versions or like some crappy demos that I try to make for like such a long time. And then all of a sudden you go in the studio and then they like really do come to life. I know that's like a cheesy thing to say, but they really like just blossom, right in front of your eyes in like such a short amount of time. So what I've learned so far going into the studio is like trying to like take it in and appreciate the time that I have in there. Because, as musicians, like that's most people's favorite things to do is go in and record their music. And it happens so quickly, and it just ends so abruptly. Like such a small percentage of the time I'm in the studio. So I try to appreciate it when I'm in there and just try to do what's best for the songs.
That's cool. One of my favorite things, this goes for live shows or recordings, is our mistakes. Even when you're watching, I don't know, Willie Nelson or something, just little imperfections. But in recording, you don't get that many nuances because you get multiple takes. But
Yeah.
sometimes there's a take that isn't necessarily perfect or it's not what you intended, but everybody in the room knows that's the take.
Oh, yeah.
Did you have any of those moments, or do you feel like, no, I got exactly what I wanted? Uh, or are there any nuances that maybe people can check out the album and listen for these special moments that you didn't predict were going to happen?
Yeah. Well, like you can plan as much as you want, like with pre-production and all that sort of thing before going in the studio. But once you're in there and all the musicians are sitting down ready to play your songs, like that's when the magic happens. And like you can't like plan for you like we don't even by that point we still don't know what it's gonna sound like. Like after like a take or two, everything just starts coming together, and it really is like a magical kind of moment. Um, and for like nuances, I don't really have any specific for the first album. I played acoustic on some, and then like just for an example, I this couple weeks ago when I was back in the studio, like one of the songs I was playing like acoustic for one of my songs, and like the song was about to be over, but I thought that we were in the wrong place. So like at the end of the song, like I was still gonna do like another measure, but the song ended, but the guitar like still sounded pretty good because I put like more energy into it, thinking that the song was gonna end or not gonna end. I was gonna do one more, but it did end, but it ended up sounding good. So it's like little things like that that just kind of like happen.
I love those stories. And sometimes it's an effects pedal going bad.
Yeah, but it like sounds cool.
Yeah, a recent thing I saw with Steven Tyler of Aerosmith on the song "Sweet Emotion." It's been a hit for decades and decades. Uh, he's using a vibra slap, the weird thing
Oh
that sounds, you hear him in old Western movies.
yeah.
And I think it's the third time he hits it, it breaks. It just snaps.
Oh really?
And they kept that on the album. And like, man, I've heard this song 10,000 times and I've never noticed that. But they kind of like the vibe that it created.
Exactly.
So yeah, that's kind of
Right.
cool.
So it was fun going to the studio.
Yeah, you kind of made the specification that you're an Americana artist. I led off with country, but I'm kind of surprised being from Virginia and now being in Nashville. You don't have much of an accent.
No, so I grew up in Northern Virginia,
Okay, right, right.
outside of DC. I was like 35, 40 minutes outside of DC.
That's
Um, yeah, so it's like have known people from like Southern Virginia, and like we both say we're from Virginia. For example, Waynesboro for you. But people kind of split up Virginia from like Northern Virginia and then everything else.
yeah,
But technically, I love Virginia, and I'd always drive out. If you go out west, like to the mountains, it's so beautiful. So I was always going out to like the Appalachian and stuff like that
yeah,
to go like away from the city. And that's kind of where where my mind goes to when I try to write some songs.
yeah. No, that makes sense. In Texas, I mean, an East Texas accent is a whole different dialect than West Texas,
Yeah,
and once you get into the Houston, Dallas, Austin triangle, yeah, some people are city folks or whatever. Oh,
Yep.
no, that's neat. Where that impacts your music to me, you have a very bold voice. Uh, that the music, yeah, is Americana, but it is and it isn't country. It's just
Yeah.
honest songs to me.
Thank you.
So it seems like, you know, your songs have a really good opportunity for crossover because
Yeah.
it's not heavy on the slide guitar and the twang and that sort of thing.
Yeah. It's kind of funny. I've always like struggled to like find a box for like my kind of music and like because it's definitely not like it's not classic country sounding, it's not modern country. Um, and then like it doesn't I mean Americana is such like a wide genre. Like I just kind of throw it in that box, but it's just kind of songs that I like to write, songs that I enjoy writing and songs I think turned out good and I don't necessarily try to make it sound like one thing or another. I just try to write songs that I like.
Yeah, that's cool. So speaking of songs, you have the new single, "Curtains Never Close." Um, it's a gorgeous song.
Thank you.
Right now, if you're watching the interview, hit pause and go listen to "Curtains Never Close" so you can
Yes.
put the
Yeah.
voice and the face together.
Yeah.
Uh, with that song, or just in general, where do you tend to pull your inspiration from? Is
Oh
it
man.
is it
So
stories of others, or is it all personal, or a blend of both?
it's a blend of like everything, I guess. Like most of the songs that I write are not about like things that happen to me, like personally. Like I don't like some if something like happens in my life, like I don't necessarily go and like write a song about it. It could be about like my friends or something, or like close people to me who like have like broken up or something. I try to write it from like their perspectives. Or if I watch like a movie or TV shows or anything like that, just kind of like drawing inspiration from everywhere.
Uh, I actually did an interview recently with an artist in India, and I love to ask artists where they get their inspiration from because really I'm building research for myself for when I start writing songs.
Yeah.
Uh, but he said, all right, so a lot of songs are about love, falling in love or breaking up.
Yeah.
That's 80% of music is about love and heartbreak.
Yeah.
Um,
At least they.
and he said he was thankful that he was given the gift of many heartbreaks, which gives him inspiration to write his music.
Okay.
Man, that is the most optimistic take on heartbreak.
Yeah. Yeah, that's kind of a funny way to. Yeah, it's good to be positive about that sort of thing. That's for sure.
Yeah, making lemonade for sure. So you released your album and Curtains Never Close is out, and you said before we started recording here, you've got another single, maybe two, before you really buckle down on the next album.
Yeah, so I'm kind of going into the studio. I went a couple weeks ago. I'm going again next week, and then gonna do like one more project, and then hopefully I'll start releasing songs like this summer and just the normal string of singles, and then hopefully my sophomore album like next year in the spring or so. It's all up in the air. I don't I don't know any details right now, but I'm just excited to go into the studio.
Yeah.
So
How many of those, just for musicians who are watching this, how many of those sorts of decisions are yours versus sort of the Connor Daly machine around you, with
yeah.
management or whatever. How many expectations do you have put on you versus, no, I want to wait 2 months before I really start recording? Like, what is that aspect of life like for you?
Yeah. I've always been kind of like the director, I guess, of like my own stuff. I'm not sure if it's because like I feel like I need to have a handle on everything. It's like I feel like, you know, I don't have control. Like I like to like kind of have a plan and be in somewhat of control. But working with a couple people now and especially working with a new producer now, like I can really kind of lean on them. I think is going to be a good idea to try to lean on some other people to come up with some ideas and help me out. But it's definitely a team effort, that's for sure. Especially like my parents. My parents are super involved, and it's a it's almost like my dad's like we always joke he's my volunteer manager. Like he's always just kind of helped me out, and we're kind of doing this together with me and my family. Um, it's definitely a team, around me that I'm fortunate to have.
Oh, that's great. Um, with with your whole life, from the second you picked up a guitar to the release of Colors Fade, everything, like every song you've ever done kind of builds into that debut album.
Yeah.
Uh, so, it took years to develop and craft. Do you feel pressure for the follow-up album that, you don't have a set release date, but you kind of have a general idea? So it's like, 10 songs need to be done in the next year. Does that make writing harder, or do you have the energy to just go for it now?
Well, I write like a lot of songs, so and it's kind of interesting. Like right when we started cutting off song, like the time, like time wise, when we started cutting off songs, like not choosing anymore for the first album, like we picked it, we recorded it, all that sort of thing. That's when I started writing my best stuff. So I've written, I think I've come a long way in the past like 2 years, um, as far as like songwriting and really understanding who I want to be as an artist moving forward. So, if anything, I think I'm even more excited about the new stuff and the new album, and I think it's definitely gonna be a step up. But I always think the first album is gonna be great, and it was a stepping stone to get to this point.
That's really wild. That Yeah, instead of it being the pinnacle, it's really got to be the bottom step. As soon as it's
Yeah,
pinnacle, you got to put it down to the bottom and move up from there.
exactly. It's all about growth. If you're not growing and trying to get better, then there's no point.
No, that's cool. Now that the album is out and you've had time to do this, um, what is the role of you? You mentioned that you're most active on Instagram, Connor Daily Music at Connor Daily Music. Um, do you have kind of a quota of I need 3 solid posts a week, or they need to be more music oriented or reflections of your personal life? How much
Yeah.
do you worry about that, or do you just kind of go?
Um, some weeks I worry about it more. I definitely just try to keep it like interesting, I guess. Like don't post, like 10 cover videos in a row. Um, yeah, I just try to keep it like interesting and try to come up with some creative ideas. Um, and like, now that I'm recording songs, like I'm kind of putting more focus into getting these songs ready and doing that sort of thing. Um, but like some weeks, content and social media is kind of like the main goal for like that week. So it kind of differentiates, and especially once I'm done recording and get the masters back and I'm putting out music, then I'll focus a lot more on socials and kind of that side of it, because it's like one of the most important things. Like the first goal is to have good music that you like, and then the second goal is to like get some buzz on social media. So
Yeah.
that's where I'm going to be going soon.
No, I definitely have gotten a feeling from artists in 2025 that it's like if you don't post something in a week, you're just gonna sink.
Yeah,
You've got to keep that moving. Uh,
yeah, it's very interesting,
yeah,
but we're everybody's trying to figure it out. So I'm in the same boat with a lot of people, so that makes me feel a little bit better.
yeah. Cool. Questions wise, I just have a couple other things I want to touch on. Are you, I know we've talked about your recording so far. How much are you concentrating on live shows right now? And are you talking about touring in support of Colors Fade over this year, or touring regionally, or trying to do some branch out a little further?
Yeah, so initially I was gonna try to do, um, shows and stuff for Colors Fade, and I've done like a few and then played out, um, like a little bit since I've been here, like mostly doing rounds and just some gigs and stuff like that. No like real tours or anything, but um, it was kind of like an interesting time because I put the album out and like I moved to Nashville that same month. So like since then I've been like trying to connect and meet people and do all these sorts of different things like in town here.
Yeah.
Um, and then now all of a sudden I'm going back in the studio recording for the second album because time goes by pretty quickly. Um, but yeah, the goal right now is some more music, and then I definitely want to have like a tour for the most part. Whether it be like solo acoustic or like a band or I'm not sure about that yet, but definitely I plan on being out playing a lot more coming up.
Yeah, I mean, certainly there's I feel sorry for artists who are in the Western United States because you got to drive 200 miles for a gig. But even between Nashville and your home up near DC, God, that is a great corridor of just cities and music.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, it's so easy, like especially around here and like East Coast and stuff, to string a bunch of cities and dates and stuff together.
Yeah,
The hard part is getting all like the calendar organized, but once you do that, you just gotta go playing.
no, that's cool. The last thing when I was asking about, your style, country versus Americana, and your sound, isn't too westerny, but kind of. Has there been any talk about doing a collaboration with another artist or maybe a duet? Because what I hear, you have such a rich, I don't know if it's correct to say a baritone voice, but you have a really rich, full voice. And I hear a duet with a female singer, uh,
Yeah,
some plot line. Uh, have you
yeah.
thought of that? Or has that been discussed?
So like for this next kind of project, I don't have any planned duets right now, um, but maybe further down the line. Like I didn't write any specific for duets,
All right.
but
Well,
I
it
always love
happens.
connecting and collaborating and stuff with people, so I could definitely see me doing that.
Yeah. I want to say if so when it happens and that song becomes a hit, when you play through Austin, I just want like a little nod, like, "Hey, thanks to Wiley for
Yeah,
bringing up this duet.
yeah.
It was my first #1 single."
It was all Wiley's idea.
Yeah,
I appreciate
not
that.
looking for a cut, just a nod at the Austin show.
I could definitely do that.
Cool. Well, hey man, I've really enjoyed visiting with you. I think, like I said, you're going to be reaching a newer audience with this interview. Uh, I hope people from across the pond in the UK reach out and embrace your sound.
Yeah.
It's great music.
Oh, thank you so much.
Yeah, I I love that. You're still in such an early stage of your career, but your songs are mature and they're grown up, and you sound just ready to be there. You don't sound like you're on a learning curve, and that's
Oh, that means so much. Thank you.
yeah, that's a great spot to be in. So yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, thank you again for joining. You mentioned Instagram, so I want to plug Instagram at Connor Daly Music is where you should start checking them out, and you're on all the major uh, streaming and social platforms and stuff.
Yep. If you look up Connor Daly, you'll probably find me. So, yeah, I'll see you guys there.
Cool. All right. Well, thanks again for taking the time to visit. Very good to meet you, Connor.
Yeah. Thanks, man. Good to meet you too. Thanks for having me on.